Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another edition of the Spurs Chat podcast, where, of course, in this edition, we'll be talking about Tottenham's 2-1 home defeat against Liverpool. I've got three very special guests to talk about the game. Back with us is impressionist Darren Altman. Darren, how are you?
Oh, I'm absolutely top of the world tonight, Chris. Great. How are you doing?
Yes. We've also got channel regular Craig back with us. Craig, how are you?
I'm all right, thanks, Chris. I'm all right. Can't wait to get into this. I don't think it was as bad as people may. I'm going to try and spin a bit of positivity tonight, but I don't think it was as bad as everybody might think it was.
And I'm delighted to bring on Chris Babin, of course, TV presenter for the very first time. Chris, how are you?
Yeah, no, I'm good, thank you. Yeah, I've stolen a couple of my eldest son's flags to drape behind me to get in the spirit of it. But yeah, no, delighted to be here. Thank you very much for having me.
Well, thanks for coming. And Chris, because it's your first time on the channel, can you tell us why Spurs for you? What got you into supporting Tottenham Hotspur?
So a little bit random, really. Like, my dad wasn't into football, so I didn't have like the logical progression of a team. And one of my sort of closest pals when I was about 7 or 8 was a Spurs fan, so I just adopted that. And then it's been however many years of misery that is, 30 odd plus 34 years of disappointment. But it was around the sort of like late 80s, early 90s, Lineker, Gascoigne, Mabbutt, all of that. And it was, I think there's some great football and obviously won the FA Cup around that time, 90, 91, whatever it was. And yeah, that was it. That's it. You're in. So yeah, not maybe the most obvious reason to follow it, but yeah, here I am.
Is he there? Chris?
Hello.
Well, Chris, we're actually the same age, and of course, we have seen the same amount of trophies or lack of them. So, but we will come on to talk about that later on. Now, of course, let's get straight into it. Tottenham Hotspur 1, Liverpool 2. Darren, did you want to say something?
Me? I mean, I think, like I said when we were just chatting on air, I mean, there's a lot of positives to take away.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
I think you're well behind us, Chris. I think because when Chris stopped talking there, you was about 10 seconds before you started for some reason. Oh, definite delay.
I'll keep talking then. I think that we're definite positives to take, and I like your sort of outlook, Craig. So I like your optimism, mate. But for me, as I said before, I think we're masters of our own downfall. A lot of positivity. We played some great football in the second half, but it's just that old thing, isn't it? We can go round in circles until it gets sorted. If we don't come out, like I said, we didn't have a shot on goal for 15 minutes, not a single shot at the goal for 15 minutes. And so what do you do with that? It's upsetting.
Yeah, I agree. Oh, Chris has gone. So
Gary in his absence.
Yeah. I mean, I think it was. Oh, you're back. There you go, Chris. You're all right. You can hear us all now.
It's going to be one of them days. I can feel it. I'm in a car park, a short walk away from the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. I was going to say, of course, Tottenham Hotspur 1, Liverpool 2. 2 goals from Mo Salah in the first half. Kulusevski came on. Instant impact from him setting up Harry Kane in the 70th minute. Spurs are now down to 4th in the Premier League. We now have 26 points from 14 games. Harry Kane has just said we deserved a second goal. It's a tough feeling right now. Antonio Conte said we deserve much more. Klopp said winning here is really, really difficult. Darren, let's start with you. Your thoughts on today's game?
Sorry, I'm repeating myself, mate, because I had a little ramble when you went off air. Very quickly, I think that there's a lot of positives to take from the game. The second half, great performances, but if you don't have a shot at goal for 15 minutes, then we're going round in circles with this. Conte actually said, I've got the quote here. Oh, no, I was chatting at the TV. I didn't write that one down. He actually said that he's pleased because we came out and attacked from the start. And I thought, no, we didn't. We got played for 15 minutes. So I might be watching a different game than him.
Chris, let's come to you. What is it about Tottenham Hotspur in these first halves?
I don't know. I mean, the only thing you could put it down to is it's a mentality thing. It's a psychology thing, because it's not, or they needed. Like, do they only play after receiving a rollicking? You know, like, because obviously, like, every half time, that dressing room must be getting turned upside down, you would assume. Like, judging by the character, I mean, we don't know, obviously, but judging by the character that he is, you know, that passion and you know, how he wears his heart on his sleeve and how forthright he is, I can only assume that they are getting properly dressed down. And you can read into little things, you know, like he's sending them out very early. You know, we're always out much before the other team as of late, which some people assume is following on from a bit of a rocket. So maybe that halftime team talk needs to come at the beginning, but it can only be a mentality thing, because when we are, and I don't think today's first half, I know, Darren, you know, the first 15 minutes, yeah, maybe, but actually it wasn't the worst first half performance that we've seen from Tottenham recently, but nevertheless, we are still significantly better in the second half. You know, we are almost two completely different teams, and what that is down to, I don't know. I would imagine everybody there, because it's so obvious and such common knowledge that it must be being spoken about within the group of players and the management team. It must be something that they are all very, very aware of, and you would assume trying to do everything within their power to change that. But for some reason, it's not happening, is it? Like, it's marginally better today, I think, to be fair to them, but still not. It's not, you know, we are. Kulusevski made a big difference when he came on, and I think, you know, we did lack from a bit of pace up top with Perisic and Kane today, but we had opportunities. But yeah, I don't know. But hopefully we've got to fix it, especially as we get further into the Champions League, because you don't, you know, there's. You could half time, it could be done. You know, you could be so far out of it that there is no coming back. So it needs to be rectified. But what they do, I don't know. If I knew, I'd be on Conte's £5 or £6 million a year.
Well, Chris, Anthony writes now, 1 win in 20 against Liverpool, just so embarrassing. We always seem to struggle against these big sides, either at home or away. The last time we beat Liverpool was the Wembley season, when we thrashed them 4-1. When, of course, they went out with their shopping list and identified their areas, centre-back, goalkeeper being two main players for them. What is it about us playing these big clubs and not getting the results?
Yeah, I mean, it's just, well, apart from City, and to be fair, last season, I think we probably deserved more than the point home and away against Liverpool. I think we probably played really well against them, if my aging memory serves me. But yeah, I don't know. We just don't seem to. Well, but we could also not turn up against lesser teams as well. We could not turn up against anyone, can't we? That is in our DNA, unfortunately. And yeah, I mean, they're having a bit of a wobble this season, but you can't. You know, they are a very, very good side, and Mo Salah, you know, took his chances, and one of them was a mistake. You know, I don't think they created lots and lots of clear-cut chances today. Yeah. I don't think they outplayed us, even in the first half. They didn't blow us away. You know, they were probably the better side in the first half, and obviously 2 goals to the good. But actually, you know, they I don't think we were that bad, and I don't think they were that good. But it's just that they got over the line today and took their chances, and that's that, you know. But we had plenty of chances. Hit the post, hit the bar, potentially a penalty and a half shout. You know, on a different day, it's a different. You know, I think the point. To be fair, I would think the point would probably have been the fair result.
Yeah,
I am probably slightly biased, or very biased, but there we go.
Craig, let's come to you. Let's get your thoughts on today's game.
Yeah, I mean, it's a shame we can't schedule like a 45-minute friendly before the match starts, and then we might actually start playing from the beginning. But you know, as Chris said there, you know, we we are going to get punished. I mean, we did get punished today. Let's face it, against a better team. You know, we did it okay against Bournemouth and Marseille, and it was different against Liverpool today. You know, they always give us a game. Typically, that's the first away win in the league they've had this season. If it showed in that second half, the wing backs were pushed up a bit further. You know, in fact, the whole team was playing 10 yards further up the pitch, and there was more energy, there was more dynamism, there was more desire. I think from the whole team to get forward, and it's like they do need a kick up the bum, whether that be at half time or to go a goal down. Which you know, as I say, you're going to get found out about that. It was frustrating. Me and Darren swapped a few messages before the game, and I think we both agreed that, you know, we had to start fast. You know. Like we did. Do you remember under the Poch days, we used to start fast almost every game, and that's what we need back. And I'm convinced, absolutely convinced, when we get that right, when we start fast from the beginning, then we will blow teams away, and then we will have a chance. Because you're right, we have got to improve against the so-called big six teams, because it's just not good enough. Because you're just going through the season, looking at those games like today, you think, like, you could put a bit of a statement out today, and again we've fallen short. So more work to do, and more work in the transfer market to do. But I think I'm right in saying we're almost, barring a massive goal swing, we're guaranteed to stay in the top 4 now until the Premiership resumes. Is that right? So, you know, let's not be too down. If we're still in the top 4 come Boxing Day, then we build on from that. So, there you go. So I think Man U have only got one more game left. So unless there's a massive collapse by us and a massive win by them, we're going to finish in the top 4 before the World Cup starts. So that's you know, be grateful for small mercies there. But a lot of work to do still, and a lot of, you know, you just will come on to it. But I think the substitutions changed the game as well, Chris. Of course they did.
Yeah, I completely agree. Darren, are you feeling happy as a Spurs fan right now? You know, the season overall. Are you being entertained enough?
I mean, you know, at the end of the day, you can moan and groan as much as you want, but the table doesn't lie, and we're, like Craig said, you know, we're 4th. But it's just it's the style of play, and I don't want to sort of moan and start, you know, slating Conte, because that's just a stupid thing to do, because I wouldn't want anyone else. But this thing about, sorry to repeat myself, this thing about starting fast. Harry Kane said today, when he was interviewed, he said that's our story of the season so far, and it's like, well, rectify it. Just move it forward. Like, I don't understand. And, you know, every time something like this happens, I always sort of think, well, don't worry, we'll fix it the next game. Well, this is like 5, 6, 7 games in a row that we haven't played, and we go a goal down and then start playing. So it's like, well, it's either a tactic that he's employing, sit back, assess the situation, you know, lovely crossfield balls, try and hit them on the break, or he's not saying that, and yet Harry Kane said, he mentioned the pressure, he said the tension around the stadium when a player gives the ball away. That was his words. So at home, they're obviously feeling it. You know, say someone slips up and you get, oh. So is it either a tactic that Conte's employing, or is it a fear that the players have got instilled in them at this moment, where they're afraid to make a mistake, and they're just playing it safe, side to side and back, because they don't want to play it forward, risk losing, and have, I don't know. I don't know the reason. Be very interesting to know what the reason is. If someone within inside the camp says, yes, that's a tactic that Conte is telling us that we need to sit tight for X amount of time, or he doesn't say that, and it's just something within our team at the moment. It'd be an interesting, don't know what you guys think.
I think it was a very strange atmosphere inside the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium today. The first 45 minutes, the Spurs fans were extremely quiet. Boos again at half-time. The amount of boos that we've had at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium in the last couple of years has just been unbelievable. But yeah, a very strange atmosphere. Players like Emerson Royale were jeered a few times with his crosses. Chris, let's come to you on the same point. Are you happy as a Spurs fan? You know, Conte, of course, has been in charge now for 12 months. But overall, the type of football that we play, have you been happy this season?
I mean, like, sort of yes and no. I mean, obviously, our expectations are probably moderated, but because it's not like we were, the football under Poch was absolutely exhilarating, and apart from that, obviously that last season, but it's stressful watching Spurs, isn't it? At the minute, they've given me a touch in the arm. I think I can subscribe a few grey hairs to them, but I suppose on the one hand, it's very entertaining because it's always down to the wire, isn't it? And that is something that I think we can really hold on to and be positive about. How often previously have we had those 90-plus minute winners? And we've had 3 in the last 4 games. One was obviously ruled out, but that's not top. That's not something that we were renowned for. So there are some significant improvements and they are playing their socks off. They are fighting. Yes, we want it for 94 minutes, not 48 minutes, but they are going down to the absolute wire. They are not giving up. They are fighting to the bitter end, which is, I think, something that we should be really pleased about, really grateful for. People would say that that's the minimum you can expect, but that's not always been the case. So I think we have to accept that is a good step forward, a good move forward. I think, the development of some of our players has been exceptional. I mean, Højbjerg, he's starting to twist and turn and knock the ball around and do things that you didn't think were in his locker, really. I think he's having a fabulous season. Bentancur is just, I think, he's been a revelation this season and something that we can, it's just today, 3 players around him, it's just fabulous, isn't he? Really beautiful player and a joy to watch he appears to be getting better every game. I think we've seen a bit more of Basuma today, actually, and I liked what I saw there. I think actually, he'll take time to settle in, and obviously he's not sort of first choice in there, or not necessarily always going to play because it depends on the system that Conte plays. But actually, I'm really impressed with him today. I thought he did really well. But yeah, are you enjoying it? Yes and no. This obviously is some fairly horrendous, afternoons, isn't there? But I think we've got lots of reasons to be positive, and we have to cling to that. And I think I know it's hard, and I know. And we're all guilty of it, the groaning and all of that. But if 60,000 people are all doing it in unison, it must have an impact on the players, mustn't it? But then we're also all entitled to be annoyed if Emerson overhits or underhits yet another cross or whatever. It's or the slip up by the Lloris or whatever. We're entitled to be frustrated by the same token. But yeah, I don't know.
I'm sure we'll come on to talk about Emerson Royale shortly. Craig, Gavin writes, now frustrated is the word. How are you feeling as a Spurs fan, so far this season? Because Spurs are sitting in 4th. If I'd have said to you at the start of the season, going into the World Cup, Spurs will be 4th, would you have been happy with that?
I probably would have been, to be honest with you. Yeah, I probably would have been. Because there's a lot of used this analogy on the Golf Channel. On your channel before, as regards a golf score. They say there's no pictures on a scorecard. You could make a par, and you don't know how you've got to. You could have hit one way right, way left, chipped on and putted, or even chipped in. And that's kind of what Spurs are. If you showed somebody a league table that knew nothing about how anybody had played, you say, oh, that's a pretty good position considering where Spurs were this time last year. So, as I say, I don't think it's all doom and gloom. I just think we have had injuries. It just shows that the squad depth and the play, more importantly, the players Conte trusts are just not there, because the players we brought in over the summer, the player obviously Bentancur and Kulusevski coming back today just proved how important he is, how much more dangerous we looked going forward once he was in place. It's massive, and for whatever reason, Conte doesn't trust certain other players to come on. He does, Brian Keogh, I think he's looked good when he's come on in parts of the season. Obviously, didn't want to bring him on today. I thought he might have got a run today, but the squad depth just isn't there. And when you lose big players like Sonny, like Richarlison, Romero at the back today, it's it's going to bite on any team except perhaps a Man City. You know, you look at that mob down the road. They've not really had massive injuries yet, have they? We've had to deal with 4 or 5 key players that have been out for a number of games, and I think that's important to remember. So, and we're at a different part of this process. I know people don't want to hear it, and you were saying about the crowd jeering and booing. I get it. It's their right to boo. I don't think it really helps, and I don't think it's that bad to warrant boos. I think the players know exactly how bad the first halves have been. I don't think, I just don't think booing. There is a place for it sometimes. I get it. I totally get it. I've never done it myself, but it's just that the frustration is written all over the players' faces. Sometimes you see, and I'm not convinced they know why they're sitting back, because everything you hear, Conte is not telling them to sit back. So it is a really, really bizarre one why we do it game after game, and it's almost like they got the handbrake on in the first half. It's almost like you said, they're just telling them to sit back, conserve energy, go out and win the second half. And if we're 0-0 at half time, then so be it. But we inevitably seem to be at least a goal down, don't we, at the break? So it's just good. But you can't keep doing that. It's not sustainable. So going back to your question, am I happy? We are through to the last 16 in the Champions League for, I think, the 6th time in our history. We are 4th in the Premier League, almost guaranteed to be going into the World Cup. We're still, at the moment, in the Carabao Cup and obviously the FA Cup. So everything's still up for grabs. And I'm not massively unhappy, but things do need to change, and I think we're going to have a decent, or I hope we're going to have a decent transfer window to sort out those holes and those cracks in the squad.
Just very quickly, Craig, you're the first one who mentioned that lot down the road. Are you worried about them? Because I think all of us expected it to go wrong at some point, but they seem to be winning at the moment.
Because again, I've said it before, it's mildly annoying when they win something, but to be honest, I try and concentrate on Tottenham, and I'm lucky that I haven't got that many Arsenal friends, so because most of my mates are sensible, and so I haven't got that many gooners, so it's obviously there. It's like a rash, it's an annoying rash. It sometimes itches and you really have to scratch it sometimes, but it doesn't really annoy me because I'm still convinced they're going to blow up at some point. I don't think it's sustainable. And if Arsenal do finish second, because I don't think they're going to win the Premiership, I really don't, then, you have to take so far. I know this isn't an Arsenal channel, God forbid, I'd never be on one, but they have been playing well. But I have to say today, I thought Chelsea were appalling, absolutely appalling. They almost rolled over. And don't forget, I think Arsenal have kind of been Chelsea's sort of opponent that they always come across, they always struggle against for some reason, So
yeah.
They have had some good results there, but Chelsea were appalling today. But hey ho, let's not think about Arsenal too much. Yeah. Let's concentrate on Tottenham.
Well, let's talk about Tottenham's starting 11 today. Hugo Lloris in goal. Of course, Antonio Conte went with a 3-5-2. Lloris in goal. The back three of Dyer, Lenglet and Davis. The wing back, Sessegnon and Emerson Royal. In midfield, Bentancur, Basuma and Højbjerg, and the front two of Harry Kane and Ivan Perisic. And then the subs today, Doherty, Skip, Sanchez, Brian Hill, Forster, Kulusevski, of course, returned, Tanganga, Mora and Sarr. Darren, let's come to you. Any surprises in that starting 11 today?
Not really. I think it was as we expected. Obviously, great to see Kulusevski and Lucas on the bench. I take it they weren't fit enough to play the whole 90, so bringing them on was perfect. I thought that, it was a good a team as I expected, injuries aside. I thought that Perisic, despite hitting the bar, that sort of header that came off his shoulder and he went on the bar, I thought that wasn't his position, really. It looked quite flat, quite static. And as soon as he was swapped back onto the left, in the second half, he just felt more comfortable. He could make runs, he could hit balls on the angle, he could beat people. He just looks more comfortable going forward. But I thought the Kane Perisic didn't work up front. I wouldn't like to see that again. I just thought he looked so static, and it doesn't like things coming to feet. He's more happy on the wing. Sessegnon, I thought I thought his endeavour was good. I thought his end product, his end decisions were a bit frustrating today. His end product didn't really deliver. You know, I don't know why that is. I don't know what he does in training. I mean, he looks sort of good up to a point, and then it sort of all goes a little bit tits up for him. What else did I think? Basuma, as has been said, I thought had a really good game. Really nice tackles, interceptions, winning the ball. Bentancur, we're so lucky to have him. Great to see him again. I mean, I think it was as good as it could be. But as has been said, you think back to when we had Kane and Son, Kulusevski, Richarlison, I think needs more time to bed in. We haven't really seen what he can do yet. But, you know, when we've got the playmakers on the pitch, then we can start creating. But I thought there wasn't a lot of options creatively today. It was all quite static. I thought it was all quite telegraphed. I didn't think Liverpool had to work too hard to defend what we were doing, to be honest. That's my thought.
Chris, let's come to you. Same question, really. I suppose Harry Kane had to play alongside Ivan Perisic. Conte didn't really have a choice because Kulusevski wasn't going to ever start the game. And Conte said a couple of days ago in his press conference about Lucas Moura. Were you happy with the starting 11? And the question I ask every single guest on this channel is about the wing-backs. Are these wing-backs good enough for Tottenham?
Absolutely not.
No. Either side, really. I mean, probably Emerson Royal probably gets the lion's share of the criticism, and he's just, you know, he tries, you know, I think he tries his hardest, and you know, his saving grace is he drives forward, actually, which is not something that always happens on the other side. Actually, I think there is a more reluctance to sort of just, you know, knock the ball past and get into space, or even make your run behind to receive that diagonal. But yeah, I mean, as we've been saying for as long as he's been there, he's just, you know, that final ball into the box where, you know, that moment where you just need that little bit of composure. It just is lacking time and time again, isn't it? You know, but I think to be fair to both Sessegnon and Royal today, at least they were getting forward, weren't they? Which actually, you know, going back, you know, over the past sort of 4 or 5 games, the ball ends up back at Dyer's feet 9 times out of 10. You know, it gets put out wide, and then it's at the centre backs or the goalkeeper's feet within a split second, and you're like, why has that happened? What's going on here? You know, surely, even if you lose the ball, you know, just knock it. Just even if it you know, I don't know what sort of success rate people would be happy with, but if you were going in the right direction at the very least with some real conviction, I think people would forgive you a lot more. But then obviously it would come unstuck with that final delivery that is consistently not good enough from a multitude of players. But he seems to play every week. He's almost one of the. It's as if he's, I don't know, he's like the 3rd or 4th name on the team sheet, isn't he? You know, and that says that there is a lack of trust with the other. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Everybody's desperate to see Spence. I mean, I really like Brian Hill. I think, you know, he's just got so much tenacity, isn't he? And he's brave, and he wants to try and, you know, get into those spaces and try things. Yes, he's a bit lightweight, does get knocked off the ball or slips over, or, you know, sometimes tries a bit too much. But you know, yeah, I think everybody would be happy to try and see someone else really make that role their own. But who?
Royal's so bad, he made Doherty look good when he came on.
Well, this is exactly what I was going to say. Chris, let me come back to you, because Emerson Royal, as you've just said, seems to be on the team sheet week in, week out. Doherty comes on. In my opinion, he actually looks like a right wing back. And when you look at the bench today, Spence isn't even on the bench.
Yeah. I mean, and Doherty, you know, pre-injury was looking really good, wasn't he? You know, I think he sort of cemented that place, hadn't he? But he's struggling to get back in, and I don't know what, you know. I can't imagine it's still fitness. But yeah, I don't think he's the answer, but he's certainly probably a step forward. And I think if he had an uninterrupted run of games, you know, he would undoubtedly improve. Again, though, I think still suffers the same drawbacks sometimes. You know, that final ball, that final decision, and certainly less pace than Royale. But yeah, I don't know what the answer is down there, but it's not working for sure. And in a system that is so heavily reliant on his wing backs, the fact that there is such a lack of consistency or confidence, or I don't know, whatever it is, ability that it really sort of goes, doesn't it? Like, it's not like we're playing, you know, not that anyone does, but, you know, 4-4-2 or whatever it is. You know, you've got the overlap, or you've got two people doubling up. Although we started to seem to do that today. Actually, Dyer started. He had some really good, put some really good balls in from the right hand side when he was coming in and overlapping. And actually, we ended up having three along that right hand side, didn't we? You know, when Kulusevski came on. But yeah, it's an issue, and it needs addressing, because if that's the system that he wants to play, and it very much is the system that he wants to play, but you know, we need those players to be firing on all cylinders, don't we? And they're not, you know, in any way, shape, or form.
Chris, very quickly on Sessegnon and Emerson, have you seen improvements from them this season?
Sessegnon probably a bit. Emerson not so much, I would say. I think he's always, you know, I think defensively he's not a right, you know, credit where credit's due, you know, in his defense, he's not a wing back. That's not that's not what his role has been previously. He is trying to learn a new role. He is trying to develop into what Conte wants him to be. So I don't know if he's sort of, I don't know, maybe he's improved marginally, but you wouldn't put any amount of money on it, on, you know, when he's got the ball and he's looked up into the box and he's, you know, trying to pick out that far post. You would, like, I mean, you have no faith in him whatsoever, do you, to deliver that final ball or do the right thing. So it's difficult to say, because obviously he's not been a sort of regular starter or played a massive part in a load of games. So, you know, he's been very, you know, unlucky with injuries and sort of not played a great deal. So, but we probably have seen out of the two of them, probably Sessegnon has probably come on a bit more.
I don't even think it's just his final ball, Chris. I think he's weak. I mean, Robinson skipped past him. It was like, I mean, the amount of times people beat him ends up, you know. I just don't think he's got that. I'm sorry, I don't mean, I know this isn't a, you know, this. And now the section of the show where we diss Emerson Royal.
Well, I'll be honest, Darren. I remember last season being at his first ever game, Crystal Palace away, when we lost 3-0. And there was a point where, of course, when a player makes their debut, you watch them quite closely to see what they're like. And whenever he got to a point, he always went back or sideways. He doesn't ever take the man on. And when I think back to that game to now, I don't see any difference.
And when you and me stood at the terrace at Chelsea at the Bridge, God, he was getting his arse handed to him that night as well.
But I get what Chris is saying about he was a right back, and now Antonio Conte is trying to turn him into a right wing back. But when you see, you know, in my opinion, I think Matt Doherty is a far better right wing back than Emerson Royal. I know a lot of people say that defensively Emerson Royal is better, but you haven't even got Jed Spence on the bench, who of course Antonio Conte called a club signing. So I just think that area really needs looking at in the next transfer window, whether it be in January or the summer. But as a lot of us have said, week in, week out, you know, when Antonio Conte relies on this system, it's so important to him, this system with the wing backs. I'm just surprised that we have got two players in Sessegnon and Emerson that don't really fulfil the role that they should. Craig, what have you made of Clement Lenglet in a Tottenham Hotspur shirt so far this season, and the back three, Dyer, Lenglet and Davis? Does that fill you with confidence, that back three?
I think we've all seen that's the back three you just had to go with today. I think Lenglet's a really good player. I wouldn't mind us trying to sign him permanently, to be honest with you. I think he seems calm and fairly assured. I think he's got quite a cultured left foot on him. Seemed to marshal the defence quite well. that back three was the one, because I think Conte's seen that you just can't trust Sanchez anymore, because Sanchez would have been Romero's backup essentially, wouldn't he? So it's kind of what you got to go with, and he obviously doesn't fancy Tanganga there. And if Tanganga's actually fit, I'm sure he is. I can't remember if he was on the bench. So he was today, yeah. So you'd think you would have given him a run if he likes the look of him. So yeah, we're kind of down to the bare bones at centre back. But Langley, I really like him. I do have to say something about Emerson Royale, Chris. I have to say something every show about Emerson Royale.
I knew you would.
Firstly, I have to say I thought he was magnificent. Actually, no, that's too strong a word. I thought he was really good in the week. I thought when he came on in the week, I thought he was great. He did play probably his best game I've ever seen him play. However, they're few and far between, and today again he didn't offer anything going forward. And I do feel sorry for him, because he does try, and there's no doubt in my mind that he is trying every single game 100%, and that's probably what Conte likes about him. He gives 110% every week, but he's just not good enough, and he's not a wing back. It's probably easier, and I don't know this for sure, it's probably easier to turn a winger into a wing back than a right back into a wing back sometimes, because it's so important to get forward. And he's just not making those runs. He hasn't got it ingrained into him where to run and skip past people, getting decent crosses. We haven't really seen many decent crosses from him. So I just hope and I pray that Spence gets a run out on Tuesday or Wednesday, whenever the game is. Wednesday, isn't it? I just hope he gives Spence a run, and Spence has an absolute blinder, and then he's got a decision to make against Leeds, and then hopefully can work with him over the World Cup and he'll get a decent run, because I really hope Jed takes his chance if he's given one.
Now let's go through the incidents in the game. After 3 minutes, Nunez forcing a good save from Hugo Lloris. 4 minutes later, Nunez with an effort just wide. And then after 11 minutes, Darren, let's come to you. Liverpool took the lead 1-0 through Mo Salah, ball in from the left, and a wonderful finish from Salah. What did you make of the goal?
I've got the Dyer goal in my head. Remind me of Royal coming. Yeah, so I think I've got down here on my notes that Royal came inside. He sort of left his position, and Nunez had so much joy on that right hand side. I mean, I sort of put Royal partly to blame for that one, because he came right in. Like I don't know what he was doing, and Nunez had so much space to put the ball in for Salah. I mean, I just thought it was an easy goal, and they kept attacking that side. This is what we're talking about now. If people know that he is our weak link, and that he's going to be the the chink in our armour, balls are going to come down that side. And I think that Nunez had a field day today. That's what I think about that goal.
For the first 15 minutes, they did have a couple of opportunities. Chris, let's come to you. Going into this game, did you feel confident? Because Liverpool, up until today, they've played 12 in the Premier League. They'd won 4, they'd drawn 4, they'd lost 4. Very, very inconsistent. Their fans, were quite frustrated by their performances, because, of course, they beat the likes of Manchester City at home, but lost their last couple against Nottingham Forest and Leeds. So how were you feeling going into this game? Were you expecting that Tottenham were going to go on the front foot and start really fast in the game?
Yeah, sort of mixed. Obviously there is always that element of doubt with being a Spurs fan, but I was actually quite confident. And actually, even at 2-0, I still thought we were going to get something. Maybe stupidly, I don't know, but yeah, with Liverpool issues, and the form that they came into the game, the fact that we were at home. Obviously, you did have to sort of counter that with the fact we were missing a few players that probably would have, you would have, if it was a full strength side, you would have probably been more confident. But no, I was confident going into the game, and I think, coming, and I felt despite it would have required a Herculean effort in Marseille, and the boys, I'm sure, were knackered, but I think they had a couple of days off. But I felt that it would be a bit of a buzz about the place, having secured qualification, winning the group, coming back in that almighty way. It feels like the team spirit is good there. It feels like it's solid. You know, they do look, you know, and we've had this at times, and we've definitely not had it at times where, you know, I don't keep wanting to hark back to the Poch era, but it was like, it felt like a family, and I'm starting to get that feeling a bit with the guys now. You know, that they are all in it together and they're fighting for each other, and I think they're you know, as we can see, you know, with the results, you know, that are coming so late on, you know, that requires a lot of grit and determination and team spirit, and you've got to play for each other to get those results. Otherwise you crumble. You know, you go 2-0 down and there's rifts and problems and cliques and all of that sort of stuff. You know, you just fall apart, and we're not doing that. So that tells me that there's a really good spirit there. I think they all love Conte, and I felt that you know, the sort of qualification might have given us a bounce, and Liverpool coming in with a lack of confidence. I did feel good. I felt confident, I must admit. But here we are, you know. But you also know that when a team is in need of a win, you know, we are the team to play, aren't we? You know, we haven't won for, you know, 20, haven't won away for 30 years. Oh, there we go, Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Let's put that right, you know. So it's you have always got these nagging doubts in the back of your mind as a Spurs fan, haven't you?
Yeah,
I'll be honest, Chris. There's two terms I hate as a Tottenham fan, and one is Dr. Tottenham, and the other one is Spursy. I absolutely hate both of them. Chris, let's stay with you. After 16 minutes, Spurs had their first chance. Good ball in from Emerson, and big up Emerson Royale, because it's nice to see him play a ball forward for once. To Harry Kane, who crossed for Ivan Perisic, hit the post. Højbjerg with a shot on target as well, straight after, comfortable for Alisson. What have you made of Ivan Perisic in a Spurs shirt since he joined?
I think when he first came over, I thought, my God, this guy's amazing. You know, like every ball he put in went exactly where you wanted it to go, and every time he's on the pitch and Son is lining up to take a corner, you're pulling your hair out. You're like, what? Like what? Either side, like his delivery. I think he has gone off the boil a little bit over the last maybe sort of few games, and then obviously he was playing out of position today. But I think he's brilliant. I think, you know, he's got a calmness, he's got a composure, he's got a real determination. You know, I mean, like in the second half when he was fighting back to win those, like he was. I felt, you know, he was slightly out of position, and it was a slightly unnatural for him, but he tried his best, but he never gives up on anything. I think he feels to be a great force around the place, you know, and I think some players have come out and mentioned how much he helps them, and you know, his level of experience and quality and calmness is I think a real attribute, and his delivery for the most part, it has sort of gone. I think, you know, it has slipped a little. But you know, my God, he can put the ball exactly where he wants, can't he? And that's just magnificent to see, isn't it? And you just hope it's bloody Kane on the end of it. Then, you know, that's the only hope, isn't it? Because it's not always. But yeah, I've been really impressed with him. I think he's brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
Craig, let's come to you. After 19 minutes, Perisic won the ball back, played it to Ryan Sessegnon. Alexander-Arnold seemed to push him in the back. The Spurs fans inside the stadium were calling for a penalty. Was it a penalty?
I don't know. I saw it from all three angles on the telly, and I think Graham Zunis was right. One of them looked like a Stonewall penalty, and one of the others not so sure. So, put it this way, I've seen them given. Cess did go down at the slightest touch, but I've seen him given, Chris. If I was refereeing the game, and I'm not a referee, I'm not sure I would have given that. I just think it wasn't enough, quite enough there. I mean, perhaps in another area of the pitch, it might be one of those that you might get a foul for, but it wouldn't be given in the penalty box. It's probably the right decision for me.
The refereeing does seem to be very inconsistent, though, because when you look at that penalty given in the Nottingham Forest game yesterday for very, very minimal contact.
Yeah. You're dead right. All we want is consistency, you know, exactly that. And it clearly isn't, is it, across the board? But, you know, when you've got humans involved, there's always going to be differences in games, sadly. And, it's the way football's always been, isn't it? And I don't think you're ever going to eradicate that unless you make the whole system totally automated by some robot, which is never going to happen. So it is what it is. In my opinion, Perisic should have gone in a bit stronger for his header in the first place. That one with Alisson. That, to be fair, it was on target and it hit Alisson. So I'd say it was unlucky. But if he'd gone with a bit more conviction, I think he'd have scored it. There's no doubt about it. So swings and roundabouts.
I think in terms of, just to quickly interject, I think in terms of that penalty, you mentioned in a different area of the pitch, it might be given. I think even in a different area of the box as well. I think the fact that he was sort of running out, he wasn't directly in front of goal. He looked like he'd run out of pitch anyway. And so I think that maybe if it was a bit further, if it was 5 yards back, then maybe it's a different story. But it would have been a soft penalty, but one we would have been delighted to have for sure.
Was it a penalty for you then, Chris?
It could have been. It could. It wasn't not a penalty. Like, he didn't die. Like, he definitely made contact. He does lean into him. He does extend his arm. It's through his mistake as well that they end up in that position. So his motivation is even greater. So I think it could. It would have been. I think it was a. It could have been a penalty, but a little bit of a soft one. But yeah, they have been given, but not in. But I don't think it's a travesty that it wasn't. It wasn't a stonewall penalty that we missed out on for sure.
Darren, let's come to you. I'm going to come to you. Apologies. I'm going to come to you on the other Liverpool goal now. On the 40th minute, of course, Liverpool went 2-0 up. Dire mistake. Mark writes on the screen now. It's the same players making the same errors. Salah chipped Hugo Lloris for 2-0. What did you make of that goal?
I mean, I don't know what he was doing. I don't know whether he was trying to really head it firmly into someone. Sorry, I got distracted because someone written that Darren guy looks like he headbutts blokes in pubs. He says, I'm a lover, not a fighter. I don't know whether he was trying to give it back to Lloris or what he was doing. I don't know whether it hit his head and then his shoulder. I'm not sure, but he's like Lloris, isn't he? He's always got a mistake in him. We've seen this before. He has got form, Dyer. It's one of those. It's just like, what are you doing? And Salah's never going to miss those. Beautiful little chip over Lloris. Just another balls up, Is
it not with Eric Dyer? I've got to say that for me personally, I always think that Eric Dyer turns a corner and he has so many good performances. And then something like this happens and you're thinking, oh, again. I just think Dyer is so frustrating.
I know, and he came out, and I think he had, as Chris said, he had a hell of a second half. He was overlapping and spraying beautiful balls. He's like beautiful balls to feet. He had a really, really good second. I don't know whether that balls up the goal motivated him or what, but he's like we said, he's always got a mistake in him, and it's just like, oh, it's one of them. But I mean, to his credit, I thought, he played so high today. He really did. I thought he was going to have a nosebleed at one point. I've never seen him sort of so high up the pitch. But it swings and roundabouts, isn't it? I just wish that people like Lloris and Dyer would sort of eradicate that from the game.
I wonder if he gets it. I wonder if he's. I mean, obviously, it's a mistake for sure. It is. And one that, we could have really done without. But whether he either got a call from Lloris or he was expecting Lloris to be further out of his, on the edge of his, not on the edge of his box, but, much further out, then, but yeah, it was, you just think, oh God, here we go again, but then he did everything within his power to try and redeem himself. Was unlucky with a header as well at the other end. And he looked amazing on that right-hand side when he was coming up, beating players, cutting in, sending them the wrong way, putting, and some lovely crossfield balls as we know he's got in his locker, I know he gets a lot of stick. I love him. I think he's a brilliant servant and tries his hardest, but obviously, but then our defenders are going to make mistakes when they have, when you concede the level of possession that we concede, you can't, they're not infallible. You can't give a team 70, 80%, late 70s% possession and not, something's going to give, isn't it?
Well, in the 44th minute, Elliott had a shot from outside the box, which Lloris saved. And in the halftime stats, Liverpool had 64% possession to Tottenham's 36. We had only had 2 shots on target, yet to have a corner in the first 45 minutes. And then, as I said earlier, boos at half-time. Craig, let's come to you. In the 48th minute, Tottenham had a corner. Eric Dyer headed towards goal. Alisson saved. A minute later, a brilliant pullback from Ryan Sessegnon. Perisic hit the crossbar. It was a great pullback by Sessegnon, and that is exactly what we want to see more of him, isn't it?
It is, as we were talking about earlier, the wing-backs playing 10, 15 yards further up the pitch, which led to that. We was on the front foot. And I genuinely think, even with that team we had out today, once we play on that front foot and attack teams, you could see Liverpool shrinking back into themselves and thinking, crap, we've got a game on here. And just seeing Cess do that. I do like Sessegnon. I don't think he's certainly not the finished article. I don't think he's the answer. But there's something about Cess. I did watch a bit of him when he was at Fulham, and I just don't think he's at the moment living up to that promise. But then again, he did play a bit further up the pitch for Fulham, didn't he, when he scored all those goals? So he's still learning the new role himself. But as we said before, these positions, these wing backs, are the most important parts of a Conte team. And when they're firing, the whole team fires. It wasn't the easiest chance for Perisic, but I would imagine he'll be thinking he's got to do better there. That should have really been in the back of the net, that one from Perisic. But good run by Sessegnon. I just wish he'd do it a bit more, Chris, to be honest.
Should he have done better, hitting the woodwork twice?
I personally, I think he should have gone, as I say, with a bit more conviction for the header in the first half. That second one, I think if that had fallen to Harry Kane or Son, that would have been in the back of the net. But you've kind of got a winger as a makeshift striker there. So yeah, swings and roundabouts. But I mean, you would be expecting a professional footballer to bury that. So
I think I should probably aim this question at you, Chris. Eric Dyer for wing back.
Well, on that 45 minutes, yeah, 100%. Why not? He was world class, wasn't he?
Do you think he might get that chance at one day?
Well, I mean, who replaces him, I suppose. But I mean, listen. I mean, he's a central midfielder, isn't he? I think by trade, I think that's So he's versatile, isn't he? He moves about. He always takes responsibility, but does obviously have, as everyone has mistakes. I'm sure we've all played football and we've all made mistakes. But I'm a big fan of his. But and if we, the problem is we're getting punished by our mistakes, aren't we? Because we are sitting back too deep, and they sort of become inevitable, don't they? At some stage or another, But yeah, stick him on the right. Why not?
Darren, let's come to you. There seems to be a lot of people very unhappy with the referee and the fourth official today. And straight after the game, Fabio Prasci was having a big argument with the fourth official. What did you make of the officials today?
Got no complaints really. I didn't. What were they arguing about? Sorry, I must have missed that. There wasn't anything that sticks out in my mind.
There were lots of decisions, and even the Tottenham Hotspur fans in the second half were saying, "Who is the Scouser in the back?"
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. What was that? What happened then? I was laughing. I can't see it on my note.
It was literally. It just seemed like decision after decision went Liverpool's way. Did you not feel that?
Not really. The one where they were singing. I can't remember what happened. Who's the Scouser in the black? Yeah. I think there was a few. There was a foul or two. I mean, I didn't think he stacked the game, to be honest. I didn't think he stacked the game. Like I said, I think we were masters of our own downfall. I don't think it was an integral part of why we lost today.
You're blaming the team rather than the referee, yeah?
Oh God, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I thought we were static. I thought there was no until he brought Kulusevski on. I thought there was no creativity. I thought it was all pretty much telegraphed, and Liverpool coped with us rather well. I didn't think that we shook up any trees. There was no creativity, and until he brought Kulusevski and Moore on, and Dyer started knocking balls and overlapping, that's when the fun started. But I thought up until that point, I thought we flattered to deceive today. Absolutely.
Well, in the 51st minute, Tottenham Hotspur had a chance through Ryan Sessegnon. He shot wide. 6 minutes later, Liverpool had a chance. Nunez shot from 20 yards, comfortable for Hugo Lloris. Liverpool, after 60 minutes, we gave the ball away. Liverpool were then on the break. Lucky it was offside. 3 minutes later, Thiago had time and space, hit a shot. Just went wide from outside the box. After 68 minutes, Harry Kane went close with a header. And then Antonio Conte brought off Emerson Royale and Ryan Sessegnon and brought on Matt Doherty and Dejan Kulusevski. Chris, let's come to you. Great to see Dejan Kulusevski back in action.
Great to see who, sorry?
Kulusevski.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Goodness me. And instant. I think he was on the pitch for a minute or minute and a half before, assisting for Kane's goal. And every time he looked, he looked dangerous. I think we needed to get him on the ball a little bit more. I think, he had that sort of flurry of chances sort of cutting in. And then I don't think the play sort of came down his side for a while. But yeah, I think he's sorely, we've missed him tremendously. I just hope that they haven't brought him back too soon, and he's not going to be one of these sort of start stop things, and hopefully he manages to play one or both of the remaining games, and then Sweden, excuse my ignorance, Sweden in the World Cup.
No,
they're not good. That's handy. So yeah, we'll look forward to him. Hopefully, having a really strong end to the season. But both him and Bentancur, wow, where would we be without those two guys at a minute? Just they've been a real breath of fresh air and just that bit of real quality. So yeah, I'm delighted to have him back on for sure.
We'll come on to talk about the January transfer window, but it'd be nice to have a couple more rejects like that, Chris, wouldn't it?
I know, because do you remember who there was a bit of stick, wasn't there, when they came, but a couple of absolute diamonds, and I think have the potential to just get better and better and better. So it's exciting. We'd definitely take a couple more of those for sure. That would be amazing.
Craig, let's come to you. Now, Dejan Kulusevski had such an impact so quickly in the 69th minute, setting up and assisting Harry Kane, who, of course, finished fantastically, to bring us back into the game and make it 2-1.
Yeah, instant impact, as you say. Just seemed to lift not only the crowd, but the whole team around him. Kane and him kind of developed this telepathy last season, and it's kind of continuing, isn't it? He just knows where Kane's going to run, and that little ball he played through for that. I mean, that's the kind of ball we've been missing the games he's been out. I think if he'd been able to give him a little bit longer, he might have even we might have even nicked a draw out of this game. To be honest with you, I think he's that influential and can be that influential. He's what a signing, and like you say, we was probably all a little bit underwhelmed, weren't we? When, on the final day, these two guys, probably most of us had never heard of, came in. But God, blimey, if they are, as you say, if they're rejects from Juventus, then just keep giving us rejects. Mind you, Emerson was a Barcelona reject, so I think it'll just have the Juventus ones rather than the Barca ones.
You can't help but mention Emerson Royale again, can you? Now, in the 71st minute, Antonio Conte was given the yellow card. 4 minutes later, Harry Kane was brought down in the penalty area. Another penalty claim, particularly from the Tottenham Hotspur fans. Darren, was that a penalty?
I don't think so. He likes to do that, Harry Kane. I don't think that was a penalty that time, no. He's got that in his locker, hasn't he? I don't think it was a penalty. No.
In the 82nd minute, Liverpool had a chance. Nunez hit the bar, but it was offside. A minute later, Bentancur with a header towards goal. No real power, easy for Alisson. And then in the 88th minute, Lucas Moura came on, went off. And then Tottenham's last chance of the game, really, Harry Kane with a header just wide. Chris, should Harry Kane have done better there to get Tottenham's equaliser?
Oh, yeah.
Or is that a bit hard?
I thought it was gonna, as the ball was coming in, you think, yeah, this is it, and the one where Bentancur and I think it must have been Doherty at the far, right at the far post. Yeah, I mean, if only, but yeah, listen, far be it from me to say Harry Kane should do anything better. But his touch is quite heavy still, Kane. I find, he's scoring goals and he's doing some amazing stuff, and his distribution is wonderful, and he's dropping deep, and when he's on the turn, and he's just that vision is magnificent. But I find sometimes when that ball's played into him, his first touch can be a bit heavy, but again, God, far be it from me to criticise Harry Kane, But yeah, it was unfortunate. And another day, we nicked the point in the 90-something minutes. So it's unfortunate.
Chris, who would you say is your man of the match today?
That's a good question. I thought Højbjerg did really well. I think, but Kulusevski, although he's ridiculous because of the length of time he was on the pitch, but he made the difference. He was the catalyst for the not that it materialised into anything, but he was the catalyst for the comeback and that change in momentum and impetus going forward. In terms of the players that were probably on the pitch for that, I mean, probably Bentancur, actually. I think I don't think he put a foot wrong. I can't really think of anything, on the ball. Maybe Bentancur for me. Yeah,
I agree, actually. I think in recent weeks, him and Højbjerg have been absolutely sensational for us. Craig, who would you give man of the match to?
For me, it'd be very close call between Bentancur and Bissouma. I think Bissouma had one of the best games I've seen in the Spurs shirt since he joined us. So if you push me, I'll probably just say Bissouma.
Darren?
Bentancur, I think. There was one overhit cross that he did where I shouted and screamed at the TV. There were quite a few of them, actually, but his general play was, like everyone's been saying, it's so strong, and he's got great feet. No matter how tight the area, he always does a couple of little bits and pieces and gets out and gets the pass away. Yeah, wonderful.
So after today's results, Tottenham Hotspur are fourth in the Premier League. We now have 26 points from 14 games. We're now 8 points away from first place Arsenal, and they have a game in hand. Now, the World Cup starts in just 2 weeks' time. Qatar against Ecuador in Group A. Heung-min Son, of course, has just had surgery. Chris, do you think he's going to make it to the World Cup?
I think he probably will. Whether he starts those group games or not, I don't know. But he's their talisman, isn't he? He's their shining star, and I think obviously he'll be doing everything within his power to get there, as will they. So yeah, I think he probably goes. How involved he is in the beginning, I don't know. He's not been great for us this season, has he? To be fair, I mean, he's probably had his worst season so far in a Spurs shirt. So it's going to be very interesting to see how these players come back from the World Cup, and I think it's going to be a very interesting season. That sort of second or the end of it. The second part of the season is going to be very interesting, and actually, I think you'll see some very interesting results because those teams with less international players are actually going to be in a really, really strong position. So you might see the Villas of this world and the Leicesters and actually sort of picking up. They're not going to necessarily make a real charge for the top, but I think they will be instrumental in it by beating teams that are vying for those top spots. So I think it's going to be a very unique end to the season, and it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out, really.
Craig, it is an absolutely crazy time to have a World Cup, isn't it?
Utterly ridiculous. I mean, when giving Qatar the World Cup, in my opinion, was utterly ridiculous in the first place. Because you can't play it in the summer. So World Cup traditionally has always obviously been in the summer, and it just gives players who have got little, like Sonny, prime example. Season finishes mid-May. World Cup usually starts 9th, 10th of June, that sort of time. They've got enough time to recover, unless they're playing in Champions League final. They've got enough time to recover from small knocks. But now there's been so many games, it's hardly surprising there's been instances of players missing out because they've just played so many games. You know, you're going to see more of this. I mean, hopefully there'll be no more instances of Tottenham players missing out. But it's just ridiculous having I just can't get up. I usually love the World Cup. It's one of those things I really, really look forward to. I just haven't got the passion for it at the moment. Perhaps I will once it starts, knowing the Premiership's finished, just get on with it and support England, absolutely. But it just doesn't feel right to me. It doesn't feel right at all. Perhaps ask me again in 3 or 4 weeks to see how I feel, but I just can't see myself getting excited about it. And it just seems wrong to me, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah, it's going to seem strange, particularly as so many stars are already missing for their countries with injuries. Now, the January transfer window is now 55 days away. What is realistic in this window for Tottenham? And I'm going to ask all of you the same question. Now, recent reports are stating that Spurs are interested in Ruslan Malinovsky for £13 million from Atalanta, a playmaker. Anthony Gordon of Everton for £60 million. Are the main targets in this window playmakers and wing-backs? Antonio Conte in his press conference only a couple of days ago said, I don't know what the club will do in January. Life will always be more difficult in England in the future as many clubs will spend big money. It's better to be honest, to tell the truth to the fans, always. Darren, what is realistic for you in this January window?
Well, I think for us, I think the glaringly obvious positions are the wing backs, and I would say both right and left. If I'm being honest, right wing back is clearly a priority for the obvious reason. I think Sessegnon, as I've said before, I think is good up to a point. I think Perisic is getting money. I'm not sure. Is he 34? How old's Perisic?
33, I think.
33. So, you know, his legs aren't as they used to be. Got a great footballing brain. But I think wing backs are a priority. And I think, as we've seen today, a playmaker. I think that Bentancur and Højbjerg have been amazing this season. I think Basuma gives us that stability, breaking up the play. But we need that guile, that option. So for me, the wing backs and a playmaker in the middle. I think obviously Harry and Son, once they fire, everyone knows what they can do. Defensively, Romero, Dyer looks solid when he doesn't give the ball away like today. And Lenglet I like. So yeah, I would say the wing backs and that a playmaker, an Eriksen in the centre. That would be our priority. Right back, fundamentally, get him out.
Chris, let's come to you on the same question. What is realistic for Tottenham?
Well, I mean, you've got to take into consideration that it's January and Tottenham. So I think ordinarily I would be very skeptical of anything significant being done. It's really hard, the January window, isn't it? You know, it's who's looking to offload anyone of any sort of real quality, you know, unless you're why would you, you know, the only thing is if someone's coming to the end of their contract, it's the last opportunity to do it. So it's difficult to do business in the January transfer window, as we're told, and has been sort of proven in the past. And then obviously Tottenham are you know, historically reluctant to really sort of dig in and pay the money that's required. But having said that, it does feel like Levy is going to will have no choice but to back Conte. You know, that's he makes it abundantly clear what his expectation levels are, and he doesn't, you know, he's not diplomatic or political in sort of making everybody well aware of you know, whether things are being done to his standards or not. You know, so I think. And I don't think if this doesn't work for whatever reason, I think, you know, Levy will never be forgiven, will he? So I think that, and we've progressed to the you know, the last 16 of the Champions League, and we are in it. So, but how many times have Tottenham been in the situation where we're just 1 or 2 players away from really pushing on and you know, getting there? You know, we didn't when we were second in the league, you know, or top at January, you know. who knows? But yeah, the wing backs for me are really important. I mean, a creative player would obviously be lovely, but I don't know how they fit. I don't know where they play, if they play, how they play. You know, where would they sit? I suppose because he's, I don't know, in his system there is no 10, is there?
Yeah.
So I don't know. And and there's no point in having a creative midfielder if we're all bloody camped outside our box. You know, you'd have to be pretty creative, wouldn't you, to get us up the pitch from there. You know, so we need it's all about those bloody wing backs at that pace, on the break, and just hurtling down the wings and delivering that final ball. They are the most important thing. But we've got about four on each side, haven't we? But just not the right ones. So I don't know.
Where do you think the club stand, though, Chris, on backing Antonio Conte in the January window? Because he's only contracted at the club until the end of this season. Yes, the club have an option to extend for another year, but surely that's going to be Antonio Conte's choice. Yes. Do you think that Conte will be here for the long term for Spurs to back him in January?
I do. I think he will. I think he seems, for the most part, apart from a couple of blips, he seems happy. He's obviously, there's been a connection with the fans and some of the players through a variety of different reasons. I think that he does feel, to me, it feels like, I don't know, I have no inside knowledge, but he feels like he is comfortable, happy, and settled here. Where else does he go? I mean, obviously, there's lots of talk about him going back to Italy, but it's all a bit of a mess over there, isn't it? And it was fairly acrimonious when he left. So I think he will stay, and I think hopefully we do back him. But then in the summer, we came out of the traps fabulously, signed a few players. It looked like we were getting our business, and then it just all stopped, didn't it? And it was a bit of a false dawn that we were sort of expecting, maybe that final push at the end that didn't materialise. I know there's a variety of reasons for that, but yeah, I think they do want to back him, but whether they can or will, there are limitations, financial limitations that we have or impose upon ourselves.
Craig, let's come to you on the same subject, because Conte said about spending money. He's given a clear message that Spurs need to keep up with the other clubs in the Premier League to spend money if we are going to challenge and be successful. Roy writes on screen now, we need a right wing back, a playmaker, and a very decent centre back minimum. Is that too much to expect in January?
Probably is, but I don't disagree with what Roy says there. Personally, I think you're talking about Anthony Gordon. I think was it 60 million they want for him? I'm not convinced he's worth 60 million. I mean, he's a great player, don't get me wrong, but for me, if we're going for a playmaker, I think we should really make a beeline for Maddison. Centre back, Bastoni, name keeps coming up. Right wing back, I still keep banging the drum, and will do, about Jed Spence until somebody shows me otherwise. I know we haven't seen much of him, but I've seen enough of him, even against teams last season. They're in the Premiership, that I think he's got it in the locker to play that role. I think he'd be ideal for it. So yeah, I don't think we can expect loads of business to be done in January. I think we'll get enough done to hopefully get that top 4 spot. But we undoubtedly have got to do business. And I think if there are, God forbid, any injuries during the World Cup, they're going to have to make signings as well. So just keep that in mind. But I would imagine 2-3 players max coming in, and perhaps a couple going out, certainly on loan, like Gill and perhaps Emerson. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. I agree completely. 2 or 3 would be nice. Darren, how many do you think we're going to get in?
God, I don't know, mate. I don't know. I think if he sorts the right back situation out, I'll be happy. I haven't got a clue, mate. I think that is lacking so badly in that area that I think if we got a player, or even like Craig said, give Jed Spence some time, get him started and then start playing him and using him more. That would be like another signing, wouldn't it? I think that we haven't seen anything of him to you know, he's there in the squad, and he hasn't done anything. So either get a right back or start playing Spence.
Do you know what, Darren?
He needs.
I'm going to ask the question. Do you think if Jed Spence doesn't get game time, do you think that there's a possibility of Spurs loaning him out in January?
Well, every possibility. I don't know. I don't understand why he doesn't play him. Let's see what happens against Nottingham Forest on Wednesday. Let's see if he gives him minutes. And like, was it Craig said? You made the point about Spence, didn't you, Craig, or was it Chris?
Yeah, Spence. Yeah.
Yeah, if he starts or he gives him, you know, a decent amount of time. Listen, I don't expect him to be Pele, but I mean, he could give a Conte a huge problem, and I think that would be brilliant.
Now, next up, of course, the Champions League draw is tomorrow on Monday, 11 a.m. UK time. We have 6 possible opponents in the last 16. Inter Milan, AC Milan, RB Leipzig, Borussia Dortmund, Club Brugge and PSG. The first leg will be played on either the 14th, 15th, 21st or 22nd of Feb. The second leg on either the 7th, 8th, 14th, 15th of March. Chris, let's start with you on this one. Out of those 6 possible opponents, who would you like? If you had to choose the opponent, who would you choose?
Club Brugge, please.
You don't want to see Messi at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium?
Not particularly. Not this early. Listen, I mean, we'll get whoever we get, and you know, it's that old adage. You know, you've got to beat some big teams if you've got any desire to go on, and sometimes, you know, there is that slight thing when you're the underdog. You know, you raise your game. Sometimes actually playing a team that you are supposed to beat can work against you, can't it? But yeah, FC Club Brugge, please, for me.
Craig, who would you like?
Do you know, there's part of me that actually wants us to play PSG.
Same.
You know, because we've not played them, I don't believe, in the Champions League. Perhaps it's being sadistic, but I really do want us to play the best team. So, and you know, Club Brugge, I get what you're saying there, Chris, but they've been no mugs. You know, they've done really well. You got to look who was in their group and who they got through against. So for me, PSG, I would have to say PSG.
How do you think Messi would get on against Emerson Royale?
Oh, Emerson would have him probably in his pocket, to be honest. So
I
that's
think
why I'm not worried.
Said it all. Darren, who would you like?
Club Brugge, 4th in the Belgian league. Thank you very much. Just looking at as you were talking, just doing a bit of googling. PSG are top. They've drawn their last game, won the previous 4. They're 5 points clear. Gee, are you mad, fam?
Do you know what, though? You're playing the Champions League because you want to be playing against the best teams in Europe.
Yeah, true. But you also want to. Yeah, that's absolutely true. But play against them in the semi-final and final. Don't, you know, not in the last 16. Let's get somewhere first.
Fair enough. Okay. Well, look forward to the draw on Monday morning. Now, lastly, our next game, of course, is against Nottingham Forest away in the Carabao Cup 3rd round. It will take place on Wednesday at the City Ground, 7:45 p.m. kickoff. Now, including this game, if we win 4 games, we are then in the final. And of course, it was our last cup that we won back in 2008. Too long, in my opinion. Surely, realistically, this is the best chance of a trophy this season for Antonio Conte, isn't it, Chris?
It feels like, yeah. Well, certainly, it's on paper a simpler trophy to win, isn't it? You know, and yeah, it's something that we should be going all out. But whether we've got the, you know, he doesn't trust enough, you know, other players in and around that squad. So whether he's how much rotation he will do or not, I don't know. And Forest, it's away, isn't it? Forest away.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, that's no easy, you know, no easy game, is it? No easy fixture. But hopefully they will, you know, put out a slightly weakened side. But yeah, we've got to, you know, to win a trophy. That's what he's here for. That's what we need to do. I think we've got to just get something under our belt. And you've seen what an impact that can have on teams. You know, once you win one, you get that taste for it, and hopefully you kick on. Obviously, it didn't work for Spurs. You know, we didn't win a game for God knows how long after winning that, did we? But yeah, it's something that we should definitely be throwing everything at.
I agree, because I tell you what, I know you want to give players like Jed Spence a chance, but if I was Antonio Conte, would go with the best possible 11 for this game, because when I say about realistically, it's the best chance of us winning a trophy this season. Round 4 is week commencing 19th of December. Round 5, week commencing the 9th of January. The semi-finals are in January as well, and the final is the 26th of Feb. Now, apart from the final, all the games that we play before Champions League football again is in February and March, which is the last 16. Craig, trophies are way overdue at Tottenham, and this is a great chance of Antonio Conte putting a trophy in the cabinet, isn't it?
It is, and like you say, I didn't realise 4 games. I mean, well, then you're in the final. It is a great chance. It is a great chance, and wouldn't it be lovely just to be in that competition still in the new year and just turn Forest over and just get the job done. To be honest, I think their priority is going to be staying in the Premier League, so I'm pretty sure they're going to rotate players as well. You know, we will obviously, but you know they're going to have a weakened team out. We should have enough to beat Forest either way, to be honest. But yeah, Chris, I'm going to have to drop off now, unfortunately, because my dinner's just arrived. So it's nothing interesting. It's not going to watch I'm a Celebrity or anything like that. So I'll quickly give you my score prediction, because I know you was going to ask me for it. I think we will beat Forest 2-0, and I think we will beat Leeds 2-1. So I think we'll finish before the World Cup with 2 wins. So yeah, I'm going to finish on a high note.
Well, Craig, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you again soon.
No worries. Sorry to drop off, but stomach's rumbling. But lovely to be on as always, Chris. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much. Darren, Nottingham Forest away Wednesday is going to be difficult. Do you think Antonio Conte will make a number of changes from today's lineup?
He probably will, but I mean, you know, for example, if he starts with Hill, that wouldn't be a bad thing. You know, I think if he starts with Hill, if he starts with Spence, I'm just trying to think who else could he rotate. If he starts with Doherty, you know, I'd be happy. But I completely agree with you. He's got to go balls to the wall with this. I wouldn't. You know, it's an absolute must that we win something this season. It's been long overdue, and I think you're absolutely right. You know, we don't. Yeah, we got the luxury of being in all the competitions, so that's nothing to complain about. But in a lot of respects, you know, we're not your Man Cities, and you know, we haven't won anything since 2008. So you've got to take everything seriously, absolutely everything. I don't think you can Mickey Mouse. And you know, if he does get far in this competition, hypothetically, if we win it, it will give him more inclination to kick on and do more with us. So it'll just bode well for the future.
Darren, what score predictions are you going for our next couple of games before the World Cup starts?
Oh, God. Okay, so we are away at Forest. We haven't got Son. We won't have Romero. Let's say 2-1 against Forest. And then Leeds, they are... God, they're not doing too good at the moment, are they? They've lost their last 3. Go on, then. 3-0 against Leeds. Why not?
Chris, what are you thinking?
I think we're going to go a goal down both games.
Do it the Tottenham way.
Yeah. And then come back and win both games. I think probably 2-1 and then 3-1. I would say 2-1 against Forest and then 3-1 against Leeds, or 3-1 against both. But we will go a goal down in both games. That's my prediction.
Leeds only play one way, don't they? It's just like yeah.
Well, I'm going to go for a 2-0 win at Nottingham Forest in the Carabao Cup Wednesday, and a 3-1 win against Leeds. Now, Chris and Darren, thanks so much for joining me this evening. Chris, tell everyone where they can find you on social media, and you've got a book out as well.
2 cookbooks out: Good Food Sorted and Fake Away, which are available in all good bookshops and some bad ones. And on, I'm just checking now actually, so I don't give you the wrong one. Instagram is chris.bavin, and Twitter I think is something similar. So yeah, give me a follow. always happy to chat to Spurs fans on social media. So yeah, give me a follow, say hello.
Well, it's been great having you here, and hopefully one day we can get you back when Tottenham have won. Wouldn't that be nice?
Crossed. Thank you for having me. Lovely to talk to you.
No worries at all. And Darren, thanks so much for coming back, and tell everyone where they can find you and what you're up to at the moment.
Twitter, Darren Altman, at Darren Altman. Instagram's a bit more convoluted. And what am I up to? Doing my voiceovers, doing my impressions. I've got an awards ceremony I'm hosting in London. Just busy sort of in the studio, really. This is where I work. So yeah, thankfully it's all right. It's all good.
Now, of course, you used to come on here a lot and do the Boris Johnson. Are you working on your Rishi?
Rishi Sunak. Yeah, he's not too dissimilar to Tony Blair. He's got those sort of S's, and even though he's sort of posh, he thinks he's like one of the people, you know. So I think with a lot of work and getting those S's that he's got, you know, hopefully I'll be able to crack on with the politician's thumb and Rishi Sunak. Yeah, so I've got to work on him.
Well, Darren and Chris, and of course to Craig, thanks so much for joining me this evening, talking about the game tonight. And thanks to everybody else for all of your support and comments this evening. We will be back on Wednesday after, hopefully, Tottenham Hotspur have beaten Nottingham Forest in the Carabao Cup. Thanks so much, and come on, you Spurs.
Cheers, Chris.
Cheers, mate. Bye.